Well, Ashar, thank you so much for welcoming us in your office here in Islamabad, in Pakistan. For the audience, could you please briefly introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ashar. I am an electrical engineer by education, and I am a problem solver by passion. I wanted to be an astronaut as a passion when I was younger, but I guess that ship has sailed or that rocket has flown away. So now I am trying to solve problems of developing economies. I'm an entrepreneur. Some might say I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I don't think I'm there yet. But what I try to do is I try to solve people's problems that are at scale and make their lives better.
That's fantastic. Congrats for that. About the rocket part, maybe you can ask Elon Musk. He has a few that he wants to ship to.
I actually had a vision of making a microsatellite launching platform. But maybe that might come someday in the future.
Yeah, I hope. We'll see.
We'll see.
But for today, obviously, I want to talk about KytherTek. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about this. What is the mission and the vision behind the company?
So the mission behind the company is to make efficiency products, to make hardware solutions for developing economies, which helps them become more efficient in how they use their resources, how they optimize the usage of their natural resources, electricity and energy. And the vision is to really enable tech into the societal structures and the economic structures of these economies in order to bring them up.
So, but how would you describe KytherTek in just a few words for those who are not familiar with the company?
So the company revolves around hardware technology.
Yes.
We make hardware that makes energy efficiency products that helps either government organizations or individual consumers monitor their energy usage and then helps them make insightful decisions about how to cut down on their wastage, how to improve their processes. This is what really KytherTek is all about. I would love to throw in the word AI in there, but we are not there yet. Yeah. Right now, we are working on collecting data through hardware. Once we have enough data, then we can leverage the simplicity of AI in order to make better, insightful decisions for our consumers as well.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk about the problem that the company is solving. In Pakistan, 1/3 of the gas produced is either wasted or lost. Why is that? What are your thoughts about this? And maybe you can enlighten us and talk about the causes, the main causes.
You'd be surprised if I tell you the main cause from my perspective. It has been political. You see, economies develop better and more efficient solutions if they really feel the impact of wastage. In Pakistan, or in a lot of other developing economies as well, the governments shield the consumer from passing on a lot of the brunt of whatever it costs them to make that energy in order to be re-elected. In Pakistan, this had been happening for decades. So that is why there was no persuasion, there was really no need for anyone to invest in infrastructure, in devices, in mechanisms or in solutions that really saved any energy. Anyone could waste as much as they want and the government would cover the bill. That is what has been happening for decades. So there really was no incentive, there really was no pressure to develop solutions or to have energy efficiency products within our homes, within our industries, within our environments.
But now, was really affordable, as we discussed earlier.
Energy was affordable. Things were okay. There were no international crises of the sort which we are facing now. Everything was fine. It was sunny and the government could take a lot of loans and then just fund all of this wastage of ours. And let's be frank, the consumer never bothers. Yeah. But now it has been changing. Now the government has no choice but to forward whatever it costs them to produce that gas, to produce that electricity towards the consumer. Now the consumer has to pay whatever he uses or whatever he wastes. So now there really is an incentive. Now there really is a pressure to start improving in how we use energy. Now there really is a pressure on having more efficient fans, having more efficient lighting, and having more efficient gas-based heating devices. So the root cause was there never was an incentive to have better devices. On the contrary, if I give you an example of Japan, for instance, Japan makes hybrid heaters based on gas back from 70s and 80s. They did that because gas was very expensive over there. So they put their technological brains to use in order to come up with something which was very efficient. The government did not fund their wastage. So there really was an incentive, and they came up with a device which was many times more efficient. We simply did not have an incentive, hence we did not come up with anything. Now we have to, and now this is what we are doing as well.
Thank you so much for sharing. Now let's focus more on one of your main products. You have it right next to you. Water heaters or boilers or geysers, as you call them. Globally, the efficiency of boilers is around 80%. In Pakistan, overall efficiency is more in the range of 25, 30, 35% of efficiency. Why is that? What are the main causes, again, of that inefficiency? And what are the outcomes for the consumers and the government?
So as I discussed earlier, that the manufacturers, the consumers, and the government never really felt the need to have more efficient devices.
Yes.
So the geyser manufacturers manufactured geysers or water heaters with the lowest possible specs because there really wasn't any need. There really weren't any governing paperwork, or there were no minimum specifications, which made sure that they made water heaters and devices which was at par with the international energy efficiency standards. 80% is something which we see globally. In America, it is at 83%, and they enforce it very hardly. In Pakistan, there was no such enforcement. So since there was no such enforcement, you really can't convince them from the goodness of their heart to make better things. Now, the geysers or water heaters which are developed in Pakistan, they were made with technology which was outdated. They were made with materials which were not very good in quality. And everyone simply got away with that. Similarly, on the consumer end, since they did not have to pay for the inefficiency of the geyser, so nobody really cared about it. They remained in the 25 to 30% range, and sometimes going into the 40% range, because it did not matter to anyone simply. It's apathy at the base of it all.
Yeah.
So this is why we still had these devices, we still have these geysers, which are not efficient and which are not in line with the international standards.
So how are you solving that problem? What is your solution concretely for someone who has no idea about what KytherTek does? What is your solution?
So what we came up with, we saw that in the last few years, this problem started to become exponential.
Yes.
It really started to pinch people.
Yeah.
And we saw that people do not have a good control over how to manage this.
Yes.
Either they go out in the winters every morning, turn it on, turn it off, go to office, come back, turn it on again. Before sleeping, turn it off again. If it's raining in the morning, turn it on. Very difficult thing to do. Or leave it on and have a very big bill at the end of the month. So we started investigating that how we can make it better. Is there a product in the market which already does that? There was something which did half of the things or just one or two steps from it, but not the entire value chain was solved. Another big problem which the users had was there's a small pilot flame which makes sure the burner turns on every morning. It used to go off every night because the government had to cut the gas off to supply the industry. Another big problem for the consumer and their whole families, that includes the old parents, the ladies in the house, how we solve it through technology. Seems like a very simple answer. Come up with an automation thing which takes care of everything with the push of a button. We came up with Easy Geyser. Make your geysers easy to operate. It's a smart solution, it's a smart thermostat, which makes sure that you are able to set a time and a temperature for your geyser to operate. It turns on at that time, and then when the time is gone, it turns off at that time. And it maintains the temperature during that window which you require. And then secondly, it does everything automatically. You don't have to intervene once you have set it. It's just like you have set an alarm throughout the week. It rings every morning. Similarly, the geyser turns on every morning. That's why we call it Easy Geyser.
That's great. That's fantastic. So basically, who are your customers? Can anyone afford your products? What are the basic criteria from the consumer side?
So I've classified my customers into two main categories. There's always a top tier market who are always ready to buy your product as soon as it comes to the market and at whatever price point it is. At the moment, we're selling our product for 15,000 rupees. That's about 40 or $30 if you translate into that. And the top tier user is accepting towards this price point, and they can recover this price within a month or at max 3 months of installing it. Now, when we start going into the deeper market, we have a total market size of about 7 million consumers. The top, let's say, 500,000 consumers would be okay with that price point. But what happens to the user who is salaried, who cannot afford it upfront, for whom spending out $40 altogether is going to be a problem? So we turn towards a business model innovation towards them. We go towards rental models. They pay a very small amount upfront, which covers just the basic cost of installation and just some hardware. And then they pay a monthly fee, a recurring fee, which is again a very small amount of their bill throughout the time they are using that device.
How much? Just to have an idea for
So it would be up to $4 at max $4 a month while they are using their geysers throughout the winters. But what they really get an advantage is $10 to $20 savings in their gas bills. So it just offsets them, and they just had to pay up to $20 in an upfront fee. Now they can be rest assured that the device is covered in warranty throughout the lifetime they have rented it. These are the added bonuses we throw in for that customer. Let's say 5 years down the lane, it breaks down. It's covered in that rental model fee. We replace it. If it needs servicing of any kind, there would be a team ready to service it, and they would do it without any extra charges. So in order to penetrate the market really deeply, and we make sure that we cover as much of the consumer as we want, we bring down the barrier for the consumer to buy. Then there is the third bigger customer, the geyser manufacturer. It would be really great that all the geysers that are manufactured in Pakistan ship out with this smart thermostat already installed on it. But what's the incentive for the geyser manufacturer? We bring down the cost of his R&D. We bring down the cost of his input into research and manufacturing this thing by himself. And we just say, hey, you want 5,000 to 10,000 pieces per month? You can have it at this price point, which really makes sense for you. And then you just start shipping it out. You can white label it. We don't care. At the end of the day, we want the market covered. We want the impact to be there. And we cannot do that if we do not cover the maximum amount of consumers. So if it's white labeled, it's okay by us. If it's being marketed by any other company or the geyser manufacturer, again, okay by us. Because the end goal is the consumer should save, the government should reduce the gas wastage and their gas bill, and we burn that much less gas, and we earn that much more carbon credits in there as well. So this is the whole value chain which we are trying to cover through just one simple smart thermostat.
So what is your competition right now? So you just mentioned that the customer is obviously one of the most important stakeholders, the government, but of course you are not alone in the market. So how would you describe the competition? And is there any companies that actually do something really similar?
So, of course, there's competition for everything. I'm not going to go and say, oh, I do not have any competition. So there were a couple of devices which were in the market since about a decade that gave the customer some kind of automation. They would help the customer automate the geyser in a way that it would at least turn the mechanical dial for them in the morning and then turn it back whatever scheduling they have set through an app. However, in the last decade or so, the market's needs have changed. It was a good feature to have 10 years ago, but now the customer need a better level of automation. They need a more control over their devices, and they need to be able to monitor. Most of all, with that device, you still have to turn on your geysers pilot every morning, because once the pilot goes out, there really is no way except doing
It's still manual. It's not fully automated.
Exactly, it's still manual. You still have to go in the morning, in cold, do a bit of yoga, fiddle with your fingers a little bit, a couple of dials, a couple of spring-loaded hard buttons, hold them down for 60 seconds while you are bent down or at the geezer's flame level. Make sure it turns on. Sometimes it happens, you let go of the button, it goes off again.
So it's more productive, but not very convenient. That's what you say.
Exactly, it's not very convenient. It did not evolve as per the market needs. So we came in and we tried to cover all the requirements of the consumer. Another threat which we have is geyser manufacturers themselves coming up with the product. Already we know that geyser manufacturers are doing their research on how to make a smart thermostat. They would come up with something, but it would only be there for a limited amount of time because we are going with a very long-term vision. We are going with the vision to convert this box with a few wires into a very smart, very easily installable thermostat that can be even exported. That can be exported to Africa, that can be exported to China, even North America. While they would be just covering whatever they produce. If they are producing their own, let's say 1,000 geysers a month, they would be making something for that only. We really want to bring down the cost of their R&D to a level where it just does not make sense for them to make it themselves and just buy it from us. So this is a threat, and this is how we plan on countering it, or how we plan on answering this threat. Competition is not a bad thing. Competition sets you apart in the market as well. Yeah. If you have got a better product, if it works better than the rest, then obviously you are here as compared to your competition. It sets you apart. The other step which we are taking is being always 2 to 3 steps ahead in the market. So by the time we are coming out with a new product, the competition would be answering whatever market we left behind, because no startup or no company can cover 100% of the market all the time. So competition is a good thing. Having threats is a good thing. It keeps us on our toes, and it helps us evolve better into something which is ultimately highly exportable, which is highly integratable and easy to install by anyone around the world. That's our vision with this particular product.
Thank you so much for your insights. That was really interesting. Now let's dig deeper into your solution. If I'm a customer and I'm using your product, basically, how does it work? What are the different features that basically change my life and make it really easier? Basically, you mentioned the scheduling, the automation. Take an example and explain it to me, please.
So let's suppose you're a customer. You're not my customer yet, but you find out about me in your gas bill or from an advertisement, and you call me up and you say, hey, I've got a very high gas bill and I'm sick of turning on my geyser every morning.
Yes.
What can you do? We schedule an installation for your premises. An expert team arrives. It can be 1 or 2 guys based upon the premises and type of geyser you have. And they undergo a retrofitting of your water heater or the geyser. Yeah. It takes about 1 hour or so. We'll drill a couple of small holes in the geyser sheets, retrofit a few things, put in a valve in there, put an igniter in there, put in a couple of sensors in there, and retrofit the whole thing. But really, it should be, the customer is not really concerned with the technology much. It can be a fairy in there, or it can be some magic dust in there, which is doing whatever it is. Now, after our installation is done, what do you get out of it? Number 1, now your geyser would not be always set at a very hot or a hot temperature throughout the day or night. Now you can schedule it according to your usage and needs. For example, there are a couple of people in your home who have to go to offices and a few kids who have to go to school in the morning. You set it at a very hot temperature in the morning from 7 to 9 a.m., let's say. And then you say, okay, rest of the day, there's going to be just a couple of people at home who need warm water. So you set it for the rest of the day at warm setting. And at night, you set it off.
These are things that like at the beginning of the week, you can basically plan and set everything up.
Exactly. So in the beginning of the week, you know how your week schedule looks like. You know, Monday to Friday, you wake up at 7, you go to office at 8, everyone is out of the home by 9:30. Yeah. So by 9, you have your geyser off. Yeah. You know you're going to come back by 6, so you have your geyser set again to a hot temperature by that time. And by 10 o'clock, everyone is back in bed, so your geyser is off. Now, there comes another thing of complete automation.
Yes.
In geysers in Pakistan or much of this region, there's a small pilot flame which ensures that the main burner turns on whenever the temperature falls through a certain level. However, the problem which happens now is that this pilot flame goes off either due to storm or due to winds, and the biggest problem of all, load shedding. Load shedding might be a very interesting concept. Over here, it's a part of life, it's a fact of life. What happens is that since the government does not have enough gas to supply to everyone freely, what it does is that at night, it cuts down the gas supply to the domestic consumers and it reroutes that gas towards industrial consumers. The pilot flame goes out, everything shuts down. Yeah. In the morning, you have to wake up again at 6 o'clock, maybe even earlier, do that yoga thingy again, turn on the pilot again, and then wait for 1 hour for the water to heat up and go for your shower, whatever. This thing manages by itself. It detects when the pilot has gone out, it detects when there is no gas, and then it detects when gas is back. It reignites the pilot for you, follows the schedule again as per you have set it, and lets you know that, hey, your water is hot now, ready for a shower. You get either a message on your mobile phone, or if you have got this screen installed, anywhere within a near visibility, good visibility, there would be a color indicator on it which shows that if it's red, your water is hot, if it's yellow, it's warm, it's good for a shower, it's good for whatever. So really, we try to cover all the convenience points for a consumer, that you should not need to find out that your geyser is off and you turn on your tap and you stand under a cold shower for 5 minutes. You should know already. Now, since this is an IoT-based device, Internet of Things, so we have all the data coming in on our servers and our dashboards. Now, if at any time a consumer faces a critical failure, we know it sometimes before the consumer. The consumer would only find out in the morning. We'll have our dashboard already with a red alert that, hey, this guy's valve has failed or this guy's circuit board has failed. We can dispatch a team before the customer even knows and let them know that, hey, your thing is not working fine. We have a team already en route to your premises. It will fix it, and then it would be back to again. So with monitoring, even the customer can know, and we can know it even before the customer when something has gone wrong. Of course, this kind of thing becomes difficult at a huge scale when you have got a few million consumers, but that comes down to how operationally efficient you are, how well managed your whole network is, how well placed your installation teams and your servicing teams are. So this is how we plan on answering the whole of the market.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing again. We talked a lot about the qualitative impact of your product. Now, can we talk a little bit more about your impact in numbers? So how many customers have you reached so far? What is the potential market that you're addressing?
So we came out with a public beta. It was a closed public beta last winters. We deployed 50 units in Islamabad and a couple of units a few hundred kilometers from Islamabad, Lahore. The purpose really was to test how this whole thing works in the real environment, what is the user's feedback, and how well we can integrate that feedback into our device. Now, coming towards the potential market, Pakistan has 10 million gas consumers. Out of those 10 million, at least 7 million have water heaters at their home. That 7 million is our potential market. And almost 90% of those 7 million face the problem which we have been discussing until now. And this problem is going to get worse coming this winter because of the economic impact. All of the prices are rising. So the 7 million needs to be impacted in as quick time as possible, but you can't cover it very quickly. Then you have got geyser manufacturers. The geyser manufacturers churn about 1 million units, new units on an annual basis. This is another segment of our market. Then there are the gas supply companies who are in direct relationship with all of these consumers. They also want to save a lot of money because when they're giving gas to the consumer, the domestic consumer, they're giving it at a rebate. So they're making a loss as well. So this is the potential market which we are looking at, which is only domestic. If we look at the international market, China exports, conservatively speaking, about 10 million mechanical thermostats on a yearly basis.
So manual.
Manual, exactly. They are manual thermostats which are exported all across the world. Pakistan gets about 1 million of those, maybe a bit more on a yearly basis. They go to North Africa, they go to other African countries, they go to European countries, some parts of America as well, Asian states as well. What we really want to do is enter this manual thermostat market and replace it by our smart thermostats as well. So we are potentially looking at a 10 million products per year market. On the money side, if we are able to impact, theoretically, 100% of the market in Pakistan, Pakistan can save at least $4 billion annually in terms of reduced gas consumption.